Today, we honor Frida Kahlo, a passionate artist whose vivid self-expression and unyielding resilience broke barriers and inspired the world. Through her unique art and life story, Kahlo challenged norms and gave voice to pain, identity, and strength. Join us as we explore the journey of a woman whose creativity continues to empower and captivate generations. She said, "I never painted dreams. I painted my own reality." Tonight, she returns to speak her truth, not from canvas, but in voice. In the soft morning light of Casa Azul, Frida Kahlo sits at her easel. Paints and brushes surround her, and though she smiles softly, a hint of pain flickers in her eyes. The blue walls around her seem to hum with history.
Paint always eases the pain. This morning light, it reminds me of my Mexico.
Buenos dias, Frida. It's a blessing to share your studio space today. You've spent decades here, painting your life. Let's begin at the beginning. You were born in 1907 in Coyoacán, at La Casa Azul, the house of your parents. Your father Guillermo was a German immigrant, and your mother Matilde had Spanish and indigenous Mexican roots. How do you remember those early days?
My childhood, I often described it as very, very sad. Yes, my father came from Germany and my mother from Oaxaca. I grew up between worlds. I felt their love and their conflicts. My home was full of art and faith, but also of struggle. Even as a little girl, I sensed life's pain.
You even faced illness early on. At age 6, you battled polio, which left your right leg thinner than the left.
Polio. I remember the winter of 1913. The fever burned in my bones. When it left me, my right leg was weak. I hid behind long skirts and a smile, but I limped. It hurt me to feel so different from the other children, but it also made me strong in strange ways. My father, he treated me like a prince. He lifted me up, encouraged me to run and play despite the doctors saying no. He taught me photography and literature. He made my childhood marvelous, despite the sickness.
Your father sounds wonderful. He even supported you through your later hardships. Now, at age 15, you were studying at the National Preparatory School in Mexico City, intent on becoming a doctor. But life had other plans. Can you tell us about the accident?
That day, September 1925. I was 18. A trolley bus carrying students collided with a tram. I was flung into the air. Steel rails broke my body. They later counted. My spine was fractured in 3 places, my pelvis shattered, my collarbone broken. My right leg was crushed and had to be rebuilt by doctors. I nearly died.
Encyclopedia Britannica notes that the crash left you so gravely injured that you required over 30 operations in your lifetime. You spent months in a full-body cast. What went through your mind then?
Lying in bed, I felt trapped. Pain was constant. But I decided I would survive. My mother had a special easel built so I could paint while bedridden. My father brought me paints and brushes. In that silence, I turned to my own reflection. I paint myself because I am often alone, and I am the subject I know best, I wrote later. Painting became my salvation. It filled the silence with color.
So in that crucible of suffering, your art began.
Yes, every portrait I painted was a bit of my soul. Pain poured into paint. As I once said, I paint flowers so they will not die. And I painted myself again and again, because no one was more constant than I.
Early on, you often painted surreal images, yet you insisted on something real in them. You said, "I never painted dreams. I painted my own reality." What did you mean by that?
In my paintings, nothing is invented out of thin air. The images, the monkeys and deer, the tears and nails, all came from my life. Yes, they might look strange or symbolic, but each detail is real for me. I grew up immersed in Mexican folk stories and Catholic symbolism, and I combined them freely with what I saw when I closed my eyes. The result looked surreal, perhaps, but I painted my truth. Nothing dreamy, only painful reality transformed to art.
Your style was so distinct. Bright Tijuana dresses, unibrow, monkeys and parrots. You embraced Mexican indigenous heritage fully. After marrying Diego, you famously adopted the Tijuana traditional dress. Why was that important to you?
I wear Tijuana because Mexico is in me. My mother was part native, and I love our vibrant culture. Diego loved it too. He said it made me strong. Those headdresses and skirts. I felt connected to the earth and the revolution that was still alive in our streets. It was a statement. I am neither European nor pale. I am here, in Mexico, and I wear its colors.
Indeed, art historians say you consciously constructed a mestiza persona, blending European and indigenous culture. Your work is full of Mexican symbols, bright colors, and references to folk traditions. Monkeys in your paintings often symbolize lust in mythology, yet you painted them as gentle companions. That subversion is so rich.
Even the little monkey on my shoulder in 100 Years of Solitude, excuse me, my self-portrait with monkey, was my protector. All my symbols protected me or mocked pain. The vultures, the broken column inside me, the thorns. I used Christian, Jewish, Aztec motifs. Art was my language, full of coded secrets.
And you once painted the frame in 1938, which even the Louvre bought, the first 20th century Mexican artwork to enter their collection. Did it surprise you to see your work in Paris?
I went to Paris with Diego in 1939. André Breton called me a surrealist, though I didn't much care for labels. But yes, the Parisians were enchanted. The Louvre bought the frame. I walked through the gallery thinking, a street girl from Mexico, and here I am in the Grand Louvre. It felt like a dream of someone else.
You hardly called yourself a surrealist, but Breton wrote an introduction praising you as self-taught and visionary. After that exhibition, you must have felt vindicated as an artist.
He was a kind man, but I always said, they thought I was a surrealist, but I wasn't. I never painted dreams. I painted my own reality. Reality, my reality, is enough.
Let's talk about Diego Rivera. You met him in 1922 when he was working on a mural at your school. He was famous, older by decades. What was that meeting like?
He caught my eye immediately. There was power in his paintings. I told him I wanted to be an artist too. He was kind to me, encouraged my sketchbook. Over the years, as I recovered from the accident and painted more, he came to respect me as an artist. In 1929, we married, to everyone's surprise. Even my mother said no. She called him the elephant, me the dove, an odd pair.
The elephant and the dove. So it was. You were petite, he was over 6 feet tall. In that marriage, you were both passionate and tempestuous. You described it famously as a storm.
It was fire, yes. We were very different. Diego was famous, flamboyant, and adored me wildly, but we both had infidelities. I loved him, he loved me, but jealousy burned too. He had affairs, and I found he once slept with my younger sister Christina. I was furious. Who did he think he was? Despite all that, we divorced in 1939 and remarried a year later. It was madness, but I suppose two mad souls found each other again.
You were also openly bisexual. You had relationships with both men and women even during your marriage. That was very bold for the time. And remarkably, you even had an affair with Leon Trotsky when he stayed at your Casa Azul in 1937. What did you find in Trotsky?
Trotsky was passionate and intelligent. He had a brilliant mind, and we found solace in each other during those dangerous years. It was brief, but it meant something to me. Politics was our world then. Diego and I were communists from our bones. We welcomed exiles from Stalin. We turned our home into a sanctuary for ideas and for those who fled. Trotsky stayed upstairs before his deadly exile in 1940. It feels like ages ago.
Your politics indeed were intertwined with your art. You joined the Mexican Communist Party after your recovery, and Diego painted his murals with class struggle themes. Did you feel your art was part of the revolution?
Every aspect of my life was revolutionary. I believed that personal pain was part of a bigger struggle. If Mexico was still healing after the revolution, I was healing through brushstrokes. I told my friends, revolution transforms the world so we can attain a better rhythm for the oppressed classes. It sounds grand, but I truly believed art could help change hearts.
The world recognized your strength. In fact, some modern retrospectives call you a revolutionary artist and feminist, noting how you turned adversity into power. You've become a symbol for so many causes.
I never set out to be a symbol. I just lived truthfully. If my experience gives courage to other women, to disabled people, to my people, bien. I find it beautiful. Pain is universal, and if my paintings touch others, then my suffering had meaning beyond my own life.
You endured so much. In your last years at Casa Azul, your health declined steadily. You wrote of being bedridden, wearing corsets, and surgeries. There's a diary entry where you say, "I've been sick for a year now. 7 operations on my spinal column. I have a plaster corset. I don't feel any pain, only this bloody tiredness." That was 1954.
Yes, 4 major operations on my spine, a smaller one on my knee. Faril saved me again and again. But by 1953, gangrene forced them to amputate my right leg below the knee. One evening in my bedroom mirror, I whispered to myself, "Feet, what do I need you for when I have wings to fly?"
That is one of your most famous lines. So fierce. After all that, you still found poetry.
The body can break, but the spirit can soar. I was always one to make the best of things. Even in wheelchairs and corsets, I painted Viva la Vida, a bowl of watermelons, on the morning I knew I was dying.
And those watermelons are a celebration, your final masterpiece. A few days before you passed on July 13th, 1954, you wrote in your diary, "I hope the exit is joyful, and I hope never to return." You said goodbye on your own terms.
Yes, I was ready. Life had given me everything. Love, pain, color, revolution. I tried to live with eyes wide open.
Thank you, Frida, for sharing this journey with us. Your life and art taught us courage. Today, 70 years later, people still find strength in your story. The Museum of Fine Arts in Houston even wrote in 2025 that you became one of the world's most influential artists, your fame now rivaling the likes of Van Gogh and Picasso. That's an incredible legacy.
Incredible and humbling. I am just a woman who painted herself. But if being Frida Kahlo means inspiring women, Mexicans, the disabled, and all who suffer to say, "I too can endure," then I am honored. My pain became art, and my art became a song for others.
You have indeed inspired countless people. Frida, your face and paintings have become symbols of strength and identity around the world. We thank you for trusting us with your voice today.
Gracias. Remember, as I wrote, at the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can. Let that be the light we carry.
Yes, and in that light, we carry you forward. Buenas noches, Frida. Thank you, friends, for listening to this conversation with an icon of art and resilience. Frida Kahlo's words and paintings still speak to us, reminding us that even through suffering, we can find beauty and truth. Buenas noches. Frida Kahlo's legacy teaches us that art and courage can transcend pain and inspire change. If her story moves you, share this episode with friends and family. Let's keep her spirit alive by embracing creativity and resilience in every heart. Jai Hind. Bharat Mata Ki Jai.